Doki Doki.
Oh yeah, I did that all the time. I mean, I even came up with different names for myself.
Oh,
Like
nice.
I would, I would just tell people, yeah, my nickname. So I used to have people call me Al, and then I had people call me Joey. Like wherever I went, I would just like come up with a different name.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, which is a little bit creepy. Like
It
if
is
I
a
think
little
like, oh,
bit.
this guy's like a psychopath. Maybe, but yeah. So I mean, it was fun. It was definitely fun to like reinvent yourself and be like, hey, this is we're turning a new leaf now. We get to start all over again. And who do you want to be in the RPG of life?
Welcome to NFTCast. This is our first episode. This is Nagi Nakamoto, and I couldn't be more excited to have the amazing crypto renaissance man, Roy Blackstone, on. He's an artist, he's a businessman, he's a project manager, he's a marketer, he's a strategist, he's a creative. He's a little bit of everything, and in this episode, he's going to teach you a whole lot of everything. I learned so much from him about DeFi, about NFTs, about business, about creatives, and much, much more. I hope you get as much from this as I did, and I hope you have as much fun as I did. Roy is a great guy, and we're so thankful he could make it on today. Here's the first episode. Enjoy. All right, so I've got Roy Blackstone on the first episode of the NFT cast. And Roy, why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up where you are and why you are here and what your background is that you're comfortable discussing.
Yeah, so my name is Roy Blackstone, and I fight for justice, and I also fight for my friends. But
Awesome.
aside from that, I do primarily. I'm well known for, well known. I'm known for doing crypto related stuff in particular, but I do have quite a few other various interests and things like that go beyond crypto. I do like to write a little bit here and there, poetry, stories, things like that. I have businesses that I run, entrepreneur, I suppose, in that sense. And yeah, I suppose the last year has been a lot more crypto focused in particular because of all of the world situation and the scenario we kind of find ourselves in. A lot of people staying at home, which kind of means a lot more opportunity just online, as well as I think a lot of money that people are kind of not spending going out, which kind of means there's like a lot more retail interest in like crypto and these kind of internet related businesses and things like that. So really like the last year for me has been very much kind of heads down working on crypto stuff in particular. I used to, so I was doing YFL as of a few months ago, and that was a fun time for a little while. And then I left and then joined the Doki team as a creative director, which is what they called me. But really, I just kind of sit there and come up with cool ideas. So I guess I just
and produce them as well.
Oh yeah. So producer, all that stuff.
So
yeah.
What real quick though? What's your kind of background? I mean, where did you grow up? Where are you now? And why are you there? And that kind of stuff. And then when did you get into crypto too?
Yeah, so I was born in Costa Rica actually. My first language was Spanish.
Wow.
Which you wouldn't really be able to tell just judging from how I speak, and that's because I moved to America when I was about 6 years old.
All right.
So I do have that very nice American accent, of course, biased. But so I lived in America for about 15 years. Pretty much grew up there, elementary, middle, high school, and then like a little bit after that. I think it was mostly a kind of just like a general upbringing, I guess. I moved a lot, which is kind of one interesting thing is that most of the kids, just everywhere really, don't really move so much. But we really kind of moved kind of like almost like a military family where like every year I would just find myself in a new school or in a new state, meeting new people, basically reintroducing myself every single time. It was one long series of podcasts and me introducing.
Well, I mean, I guess that's hard to do when you're a kid, but I imagine the skills it gave you for networking and not being afraid to talk to people was pretty valuable later.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, 100%. Like, I mean, just so to give like a little bit more context on that, like I lived in pretty much like, so I lived in, I think, 6 or 7 or 8 states, like all along the East
Wow.
Coast. So I lived in like Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Florida, Virginia, like all over the East Coast. Um, and like, there are obviously like different people involved in all of these different areas, and especially in America, because like it's all very localized. Like if you are from New York, people know you're from New York. Like it's very like not nationalistic, but in a state sense, right? Like
Right.
the New York is different from the Pennsylvanians, who are different from the Virginians, like in many ways. And so like even the culture is different. So like I got to subsume a lot of these different identities, even, or ideologies, in a sense, or like different sorts of cultures of people growing up. And so yeah, that does lend itself quite well, I think, to just generally like becoming, quote unquote, a people person and this
Yeah.
sort of thing. Learning valuable skills about how to talk to people, how to make connections, increasing your network, these sorts of things, or things that I was practicing when I was in middle school that I didn't really understand what I was doing. I just wanted to be cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this extreme pressure of fitting in every single time, but at the same time, building skills to make yourself better able to fit in. That's cool. I like that. That's great. Did you ever this is a sidetrack. Did you ever decide at a new place you were just going to reinvent yourself and have a whole
Oh
new
yeah.
personality?
Oh yeah, I did that all the time. I mean, I even came up with different names for myself.
Oh,
Like I
nice.
would just, yeah, I would just tell people, yeah, my nickname. So I used to have people call me Al, and then I had people call me Joey. Like wherever I went, I would just like come up with a different name.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, which is a little bit creepy. Like
It
you
is a
might think
little
like, oh,
bit.
this guy's like a psychopath. Maybe, but yeah. So I mean, it was fun. It was definitely fun to like reinvent yourself and be like, hey, this is we're turning a new leaf now. We get to start all over again. And who do you want to be in the RPG of life?
Yeah. And I bet a lot of people would say, God, that would have been really cool instead of living in the same place for 30 years to be somebody new. But it's also hard to move all the time. So I
Oh yeah,
understand
I
that
mean, yeah.
too.
I mean, the thing is like moving so much like that meant that I never really had a lot of like more long-term connections to people. So like
Yeah.
I never had like, oh, this is my friend who I grew up with, and like I've always known this guy or this girl or whatever, like for my entire childhood. Like that just didn't happen for me because I was always moving around. Like I was always the new kid. So it's definitely like it's a trade-off, but I think it's a trade-off that for me at the very least was valuable in kind of building skills and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely see how that's helped a lot, but I also see how it was hard. So, um, and I guess it means that kind of like uprooting and moving to Italy wasn't that big a deal for you because being able to kind of adjust and move and be in a new culture wasn't an extreme thing for you.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly prepared me for it. I mean, so before I made the move to Italy, I was in this house in Pennsylvania for I think like 4 years straight, which was like the longest I had ever been in like one spot. So like I was kind of getting used to it. So like that was kind of like a new experience for me, like just being rooted, let's say, in a place. So there was like a certain element of, let's say, anxiety, or hesitation even, towards like moving to this brand new country. I didn't really know anyone, brand new language. Like this isn't just me moving states. This is me moving countries. This is a very big move. I'm taking a plane flight, these sorts of things. But I do, I did in my head at the very least already have the connections, kind of the framework ground there for, this is just kind of a more advanced version of like what you've already been doing for the most part.
Right. Helps you overcome the anxiety, I guess, a little bit. So, how long ago did you move there, and what made you decide that you wanted to be in Italy?
So I am Italian. So my father's Italian. He's
Aha.
he's an Italian man who was in Costa Rica at the time. He was working.
Wow.
I don't know what he was doing. I think he was doing some government contract stuff. But yeah, so he met
CIA.
my mom there. And I've always like one of the things that I didn't like about being an Italian in America is like most of the other Italians, because there's a lot of Italians, particularly like around the Northeast.
Sure.
Like they all like say that they're Italian, but they're not really Italian. You know what I mean? Like they don't know Italian. They don't, they don't have any kind of connections to that place.
Right.
And so for me, it's like I can't really like go around calling myself an Italian if I don't at the very least take the effort to kind of reconnect with what it really means to be an Italian. And so I made the decision when I was, I think, 21. Said, you know what, I'm just going to take the few resources I have. I was already like involved in crypto at the time, but I said I was going to take the few resources I have and move to this new place, but also try to really like, learn the language, learn the people, learn the culture, be in a different place that wasn't just another like, like a simulacra of like a different state in America or something. Because like I had never been to Europe before, and I didn't really have any memories of what like South America was like. So I had only known America.
Right.
And so being in Europe was a completely new experience for me, and it was great.
That's awesome. How long have you been there now?
So I have moved even here quite a bit. So I was actually in Thailand last year.
Nice.
Yes, I move a lot. I guess that's one constant in my life is change.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been in Italy basically for the last, I think, four years now, with breaks in between, obviously, like moving around different places and staying in different areas. I was in Indonesia for a while, in Thailand for a while. But yeah, I've been here for 4 years now. And unfortunately, so I am like pretty bad at Italian. But the unfortunate thing is we kind of stay like inside most of the time. So I don't really have too much of a chance to like get out.
Yeah.
And the easy excuse would be like, oh, because it's COVID, but it's like, no, it's just because I like to stay inside and stay on my computer all day. So I don't get any chances to kind of go outside, but I'm learning slowly. And certainly learning a lot of valuable lessons, like being in Europe and learning the European lifestyle for sure.
Sure. My son and I walk every afternoon, and yesterday he was talking about some Italian recipe he wanted to try to make, and he called it sauce, and I said, well, they call it gravy, and he said, what? They call what gravy? I said, they call Italian sauce. Italians call Italian sauce gravy up in the Northeast. I lived in Jersey for a long time, and I had friends that were Italian, and they actually were like the real Italians, though. They went back and forth to Italy all the time and everything. So anyway, I was just commenting to him that there's all these cultural differences, how we talk and label things everywhere. So one of the things that my wife and I have been talking about doing and haven't pulled the trigger yet is taking our kids and just going for a year and being in other places, because my kids have been in Florida their entire lives and we've traveled a good amount, but we really want them to kind of experience life in other places and what people live. So I think it's really valuable for just kind of your whole life experience and how you grow and to be in another place and see what it's like. So I think that's really cool that you've done that.
100%. I think if you go down that route, it'll definitely it was enriching for me. So
that's awesome. And the food's good and the people are pretty nice, I guess.
Yeah, they're not bad.
What's the crypto world like there? Anything? I mean, have you been able to network locally, or are you just still virtually networking?
So there basically is no crypto scene whatsoever here. I mean, It's very, very small pockets of like individuals. Like I guess I'm one of them. It's just not really something that Italy has particularly taken to.
Got it.
I think that's more of like a Netherlands and then like Asia in particular, where they're like much more crypto feel like.
Sure. Yeah, no, I agree. I've not seen a lot coming out of that part of Europe, so definitely can see that. Okay, so you mentioned earlier YFL. Have you been involved with other projects, or was that kind of the first big push you did with your partners in that project?
Yeah, so I didn't really have partners. I just kind of did it myself.
I didn't realize that. Oh, okay, cool.
So I was just a community moderator for them because they needed one. I was like, whatever, I'll set up a Discord. And then like within a few weeks, it became pretty apparent to me that they needed help. Like this was not going to do anything relevant if it was, under the stewardship of like, people who didn't necessarily like, they had fun launching it, but there's consequences to everything, and so like you have to kind of provide a little bit more than that to a community. So that was kind of what I decided to do. So yeah, YFL was my first for sure.
So you just dove in and really started kind of taking the reins of everything then.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the only thing I didn't do until it became apparent that I needed to do that too was project management. So
Jeez.
I was doing like biz dev. I was talking to different projects. I was making the connections, doing all that stuff. The only thing I wasn't doing was project management. And then like later, I also did that too.
So I guess these guys just didn't really understand that they were actually starting. It's not necessarily a company, but all the nuts and bolts of a company that have to go into it. And they just kind of were like, well, we launched, we've done this, now we're done. And so, hey, Roy, here you go.
Well, it was less of like we're handing this off to Roy, and more like, oh, this guy is like taking this and actually doing something with it. Let's like not say anything. Let's not look the person's mouth. Let him do what he wants to do.
Let him do all the work, and we'll sit back and watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens often, and that happens often in all kinds of projects. So, all right, so tell people kind of what I know you're not heavily involved now, and you've handed it off to the community, and it seems like things are running. But tell folks who are kind of we're expecting to kind of have an NFT focused audience, an artist focused audience, and there's probably conceptually some things you could explain about YFL and how that fits into the bigger DeFi crypto scene. And I think that'd be really valuable for folks to kind of get an understanding of what it was, and then kind of how that fits in with everything else.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess like to me at least, there was like one thing that was really attractive about YFL, and it was like the fact that really like unlike any other project, like the only other project was YFI that was truly as fairly distributed as YFL was. All these other projects basically with, yeah, I mean, I suppose Doki is very similar, right? Because they took very little for team allocation.
Yeah,
Like that kind of appealed to me, and I
sure.
thought that was like interesting. And I think like projects like that are the ones that have like the biggest chance of doing well, because it's the only people who really involve themselves are people who care about things in a grander sense than just like trying to get like a cash a check at the end of the day.
Right. Exactly. Just showing
That
up.
that to me, yeah. But it's been a while since then. Like a lot has happened. Like so why I felt like kind of where it's at now. It's like I'm pretty like distant from it. Like I don't really do anything with YFL directly anymore. I just kind of I tried my hand at it. It was fun. I did a few things for the community, and now it's like, because the thing is like I'm not a project manager. Like I was doing at the end of it, or by the end of it, I was doing like so many things that I didn't really want to do.
Right. And that you
That
didn't have any experience doing.
Yeah, I just had no interest in it, and so it's
Yeah.
like
What is YFL?
So, well, I mean, the idea is like, let's create a crypto token and let's just distribute it to people,
Okay.
and we'll just do stuff with it, I guess. It basically had no direction. I don't know if they have direction now. I have no idea anymore, really. I don't know what they're doing now. I don't really like know their internal plans. So I just have no clue now.
But when you were there, it was like you guys had multiple projects based around it, though, right?
Yeah.
Swap.
Well, those all came from us. It was me and Cole.
Wow.
So me and Cole were just two like community members. And we were like, listen, we have a few eyes on us. We got a couple dollars between us. Let's like, put something together and see what we can do. So me and Cole were just like launching ideas off into into space and seeing what people thought about it. And for the most part, they were pretty excited. So, we did a few. I don't know if you can hear that. Can you hear that?
I can hear
you
you.
hear that church?
Can I hear?
There's
what?
like a church gong going off.
Oh, really?
Okay, you can't hear it. Good. Okay.
I hear slight noise in the background. Sounds like a radio.
Okay. All right. Anyway. where were we?
Is Cole a developer?
No. Cole. So Cole's just kind of like me. So
Okay.
Cole actually he writes articles.
How'd you guys get anything done?
Very carefully.
I mean, did you have to hire developers? Were there developers on the
Yeah, I
project
mean, of
already?
course, right. So I mean, yeah. There's always resource. the thing is that I've realized about developers in particular, and like this isn't to say anything negative about developers, is like developers are good at developing.
Right.
Generally they're missing like the visionary sort of piece that can only come from someone else who is usually not a developer. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what we were trying to provide on our end, where we're basically saying like, look, we can't necessarily develop ourselves, but we do have some really cool ideas, and you guys have the skills to kind of bring those to reality. So let's see if we can't do something interesting.
Yeah, I've worked with hundreds of developers in my career, and it's often a problem. Often the hardest thing to do is getting buy-in from them into the concept and being able to explain it to them so they see the end value. But once you do, obviously, then you can have some success. So now I understand what you mean. It's that is often lacking in the development world. Although I've run into a few that had a big vision and wanted to do something.
Well,
With
the easiest way to sell them a vision is to pay them hourly, right?
Yeah, I guess that can make a difference. It's tough for people to see the big incentive if they don't necessarily believe in the vision. It's like, hey, here's some tokens and you're going to be rich. Well, they're typically pretty skeptical people. So
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of realized that in general about just like any sort of like I don't when I work on stuff with people, like I don't incentivize them with like team tokens at all. I just pay them directly with stable and fiat
smart.
because I'm like because I know how this game works. Like these developers don't necessarily like I'm not going to spend my time trying to convince you why we need this like website done. Like I'm just going to pay you to build this website.
Just do what I need. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And then like I'll keep all of the I'll take on all of the risk, all of the project risk of if this thing works, then I'll make a lot of money, and if not, then I'll fail. Like that's fine.
Yeah.
I just need you to build this website, please.
Yeah. It's just this is what I need. It needs to look like this, and this is how I want it to function. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you? I mean, I know you've got a lot going on. You guys have a clubhouse with a pretty good following, and I've enjoyed those conversations quite a bit. I haven't been on in the last week or so with Clubhouse because I've been busy, but and I know you've kind of involved yourself from an investment perspective in a lot of things. What are you excited about right now in crypto besides just Doki? I mean, the NFT space, other crypto projects or NFT projects you think are cool. What kinds of things are you interested in right now?
So I suppose on a general level, oh God, I mean, I don't want to say like any like dumb like hype word like oh Polkadot or what like because none of these things are really interesting to me. I guess the thing that's interesting to me in a general sense is the fact that like so on a macro level, we have never had as many young millionaires, like 20 something millionaires ever in the economy
Yeah,
who have actual developer connections and can build shit. Like that has never happened before ever, like in the history of mankind.
that's an
So
awesome point.
so like I'm really interested to see like what happens because when people are young is when they have all these great dreams of changing the world and all these like earth-shattering ideas, and like they're very visionary, they're very idealistic in a sense,
Yep.
and these people have yet to be like beaten down, so to speak, or like tempered by the fires of experience. These aren't like 40-year-old millionaires, these are 20-year-old millionaires with visions. And so like I think what is going to end up happening is these young people have all of this money, and they're going to spend it on actually realizing all of these crazy ideas that would have been impossible for anyone like who's like older to really envision or even decide to take the risk on, right? Because like in a lot of senses these ideas are super super risky and they're just not business smart, except if they're super successful, then they really can be. So like that to me is interesting. Like super
That's really an interesting perspective. I hadn't even thought about that. I mean, I'm all excited about what's happening in DeFi and all the innovation and what it can change in the world, but I'd never thought about the idea that there are all these people now with a lot of money who can actually execute on visions that, you're right, get beaten down over time. You try to be a little safer. You try to you get a family, you get the house, and you're chilling out, and those things kind of become a lower priority. But if you're 25 and you've got millions in tokens sitting around and you can actually execute on those visions, I think that's a really cool concept. I like that a lot.
Yep.
That's
And I
awesome.
think there's like the amount of intelligence,
It's
obviously, like,
11:30.
because I'm 26, like people who are like 16 already, like that's a 10-year gap. Like these people are way smarter than me, like already, right? So like imagine, what the future is going to be like if these people who are just like, on another level are in charge, like they actually have like all of these resources and capability. Like it's, I mean, I think we're starting to see that. So in DeFi, we're seeing like several of these projects that are very like almost like it would have to be created by like a madman or something, or some kind of schizo. But they're very fun and they're very cool because of that, and they have this allure that's like, like a good example is Based Coin. Like their entire marketing was like we're vaporware, and that's like our entire, it was like the rebase coin. I really loved their marketing and the way that they kind of branded themselves. Another one was like rope, where it's like don't buy rope or don't buy meme. I think that their entire marketing campaign was like we're going to tell you not to buy our coin, and that's what is going to make it successful.
That's awesome.
Like these are
That's
just bonkers ideas, but they
yeah.
work, right?
But they're willing to try anything, and that's kind of your whole point. Is
Yeah.
that people are going to try crazy things. And I got to tell you, I have a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old, and the level of advancement, and I'm obviously much older than you or they, but the level of advancement that I see in knowledge is so exciting to me. It's just incredible. And I'm somebody that never stops learning and changing and trying to do things. And I think I'm an exception to people my age's rule. But my kids, there are no boundaries.
Right.
There is nothing they don't think that they can try. And to me, that's the most exciting thing about it, because all of the resources are there for them. They don't have to follow a formal path. They don't have to, get the set degree. They can decide just to learn something and execute. And I think that's really cool.
Yep. I mean, I think it's just mega mega exciting, and who knows what we're gonna get in the future because of it.
That's an awesome point of view, man. That's really cool. I love that. All right, so are there any projects besides Doki right now that you are investing in that you think have big potential? Anything you want to talk about?
Ooh, the alpha leak.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's go down the portfolio. So there is one that I like right now. So obviously I am a trader. I
Right.
trade many things. I'm invested in many things at any particular time. But when people ask me about, you know, what is like really interesting to you, or what are you holding, like I'm even more critical. So I don't tell people just like everything I hold. I usually tell them like one thing.
Right.
So good that you asked this question. My answer right now. So I have an absolutely gargantuan position in this little token. It's, I think, rank 1,000 on CMC. Absolute trash valuation. It's called Geyser, GYSR. And Geyser is interesting because they've basically built an entire audited platform for staking. So what you can do is you can do, well, not stake, but it's yield farming. So what you can do is once you have your LP tokens, let's say Uniswap LP, you can put those into Geyser, and you can earn whatever the bonus tokens are. But the interesting thing is that you can actually spend Geyser tokens. So you can, when you unstake, you can put in a certain amount of Geyser to multiply the amount of rewards you get out. So this is something that is basically completely unique, brand new. You get like a bonus multiplier based on how much Geyser you put in, as well as how long you've been staked. So the longer you stay staked, the higher your multiplier goes in terms of like your final rewards. So it's really cool. It's really interesting to see this sort of platform, and I think this is kind of this is one of my bets in general, that I think if DeFi does well, like if DeFi succeeds, if it grows as a sector, then I think these sorts of yield farming platforms, because Geyser isn't the only one. I think there's like one or two other ones. But Geyser to me is the one that is the most innovative. I think SushiSwap has like Onsen or whatever, which is I think more simple. Whereas with Geyser, it's a lot of game theory involved, because if you imagine there's 10 people and there's like X reward, and one of the guys unstakes out first and he uses Geyser to give himself like a bonus multiplier, the other people's rewards actually go down.
Oh wow.
So it's like, Right, but because he's unstaked out now, he has to restake, and he's also lost the geyser that he's spent. It's like burned. It's not burned, but it goes towards like whoever set up that pool. Like it's really cool. It's a cool system. There's a lot of game theory involved, and it's definitely a lot more than just like a staking platform. They're audited. The team is good. You know, these kind of basic checks that I go through.
Yeah.
And their valuation is just absolute, just in the gutter, which I love. It's like $3 million valuation.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
going to check that out. That sounds like such a cool concept. I saw one the other day that had a yield farming / you get extra of our tokens if you're doing it through us, but this is far more than that. That's awesome. That sounds great.
Yeah, and they're going to, so they've already been around for quite a while. The last thing that they did of note was the Vesper token release. So Vesper came out with their token, I think, a week ago. We were involved in that, and I think the TVL so the Vesper TVL was like $250 million in like a week, which is
Wow.
pretty nutty. And then they chose to team up with Geyser to do their yield farming, which is still active, by the way. So you can go on Geyser now and you can yield farm your Vesper tokens, your Vesper LP tokens. So it's just it's a much better system than having other, like, these individual teams basically have to develop their own like homebrewed yield farming, which is kind of what everyone's been doing so far.
Right.
When you use an audited platform that has all of these extra features.
So that's obviously, from a strategic perspective, really smart too, because now you have platforms and tokens that want to outsource this, essentially driving people into your platform, which also has other opportunities. So you can exponentially increase what the platform's value is at Geyser because your people are being driven into it from other projects. That's brilliant.
Yeah, and if you imagine all of these people who are, because it's so attractive because guys are so cheap right now. It's really attractive to get a yield farm up and basically increase your Like, I haven't even told you like how good the Geyser thing is. Like, bro, if you dig in and you put in and you unstake and you put in 300 Geyser tokens, which is worth, like, right now it's like $300 flat.
Right.
You literally get like up to 5 or 6 times your regular staking reward.
Holy
Like,
crap.
Yeah, like, it's insane. Like, the APY is like ridiculous. So if you're thinking like, oh, my APY is like 50% per year, no, it's not, buddy. You spend $300 and your APY is now 600%. Like,
that's incredible. Okay, Brad.
Yeah,
searching on.
That's why I like it so much, and it drives every single user to buy Geyser. So like, there's an upward price momentum element to it too, because they all want to get this multiplier because it's insane. The multiplier is crazy.
Oh man, these guys are really smart. I really love that. That's awesome. Okay, so
and they have Geyser V2 coming out as well shortly. So that's going to have a bunch of new features and stuff. So I think like now's I like I said, I shill bags that I'm very confident in.
Yeah.
I think Geyser's like, I just have such a huge position in Geyser.
I'm so going to check it out. That sounds fantastic. I'm doing a little bit of a fund management for some folks here in Florida, and so that may be something we take a look at. Trading wise, are you also day trading? Are you in and out all day trading, or are you really kind of a portfolio trader as well?
So I will swing trade. I'm proud to say I sold Ethereum at 1950. I called this entire move, and then I started scaling back in around 1600, and I have a lot of longs right now. So I'm net long, like, quite large.
Excellent.
I think the bottom is almost certainly in. Putting my money where my mouth is, of course, like really buying in super, super heavy. It's a strategy that I employ sparingly. So I don't always, because catching the top and timing the bottom is difficult.
Yeah.
But you can generally, you can generally kind of catch trends. So the way that I've kind of been doing it is to sell Ethereum at like logical levels. So like, to me, like, when Ethereum was going to hit 2K, I was like, yeah, this like, okay, buddy, it's not going to go past this. Like, this never happens in crypto where it just clean goes through the logical level the first time. That never happens. There's always like a crazy a crazy drawdown first. So I sold around that level. I wasn't trying to catch the top, just around that level. I got a really good price. And then as it started coming down, I was like, cool, I'm going to make a bet that this bull market isn't over and I'm going to start buying in. And so far it's working out wonderfully. Obviously, I may look like a fool in 6 months. That may have actually been the top and I may have just like over invested again, but I doubt it.
I don't think so.
That sort of thing, slower trades over time.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing on Friday afternoon. I sold all the BNB, BTC, and ETH on Friday, and rode down, bought back in, and I'm very, very happy with the outcome. So that's awesome.
I mean, it's just healthy. Like it feels so much better to me as an investor in this market to have these drawdowns, honestly, because
Yeah,
it means that like weak hands are getting flushed out, the market is resetting, funding rates are resetting. Like this is good for the market generally.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
it would be much more concerning if it just went up 10% every single day forever. Then it's like, okay, well, this bull market can last for like 2 weeks and then
And then
it's
we're all
over.
gonna die. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Doki. So why were you interested in Doki? What attracted you? Was it NFTs? Was it tokenomics or Dokinomics? What drew you in? I told Ray I'm coining the term. It's mine.
Love that. So there's like this really funny picture of Warren. So Warren Buffett is like a fundamental investor,
Sure.
and there's a really funny meme of him like he's one of the biggest. He has a huge position. Berkshire does in Coca-Cola,
Right.
and the meme is like he's just sitting there drinking a Coca-Cola, and that's like his fundamental analysis, where he decides it's like it's quite tasty actually. So I'm gonna buy $1 billion of like Coca-Cola or whatever.
Yep. Yep.
Uh,
Same with Dairy
so
Queen.
like yeah, so the proof in the pudding is in the eating, in many senses. So what attracted me to Doki was actually the experience. Like I went to roll on the gacha machine, and gas prices were really high at the time, but
Yep.
whatever, I didn't care. I was just because I knew that was just kind of like a temporary problem. So
Right.
I was rolling on the gacha machine and I really liked the experience of it. I thought, wow, this is like I've never had this kind of experience with any NFT project ever. This is
Nice.
so unique. This is so cool. And I had already been familiar with gacha from I play gacha games here and there. Like I know what gacha is. I know that this is a huge thing in Japan. It's huge for mobile gamers. And like there's a huge appeal there. There's a huge market there. I think the addressable market for gacha machines in Japan is like I don't know, X billion dollars or something. So it's quite large. And this is the only project in crypto that has a gacha machine, that has gacha contracts. The
Right.
only one. And so I was like, well, great. This is a unique value proposition. I love their product. I love their user interface. And then I talked to their team, and Ray in particular is like, like Ray is not doing this to make money necessarily. I mean, yeah, we're all doing it to make money, but Ray is doing this because like you don't arrive at something like Doki Doki if you're only wanting to make money. Like you don't.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
you need to have more than that as an intent to begin with in order to reach this sort of conclusion. And I think Ray, every time I talk to Ray, it's like, you're thinking the exact same thing I'm thinking, about the user experience and all of these things. And it's like, it's wonderful. And so I'm like, this is the team that like, for the first time, I actually feel like this team is like super legit and they actually care about this, the product.
Absolutely. I got to tell you, my experience was similar. I was having a conversation on Twitter about UI and UX and how bad it can be in the DeFi space, and Ray messaged me and said, "Hey, would you take a look at our project?" And I did, and I tried it, and I was blown away. And then he and I just started interacting, and I was so blown away by how genuine everything was and felt, and how much they had done in such a short time, that when he said, do you mind coming on board and helping us out with advising and biz dev and stuff like that, I said, absolutely, because this project excites me. I mean, every day I look forward to working on it and helping with it and doing what I can with it. So I agree with you. I think the team is so fundamental in any startup scenario, but in this one in particular, I think it's really important. I think his standards for the art and the NFTs and what they want to put out there is critical as well. And I'm impressed with that. So I agree with you completely. It's fantastic. So you're doing a lot with Doki. I mean, I'm assuming you also invested in the project if you liked it, but you're now investing like a ton of your time in Doki every single day. Do you want to talk about what you're doing and like, the impact and what's next?
Yeah, so I will speak a little bit about this because I think this is still like mostly secret, so I can't reveal too much, or
No.
Ray is gonna.
Yeah, he'll get mad at both of us.
Yeah, um, but you're right. So I mean, obviously, from an investment perspective, like I own a massive percentage of the supply of Doki right now, which I'm pretty proud of that.
Awesome.
Have that all staked. I think Doki is just criminally undervalued, and it's free money. It
Yeah.
really is. I think once the market recognizes what Doki actually is, once they go on Matic, this is the thing that really gets me is like you always invest in projects or companies that are experiencing short-term temporary problems, that are
Right.
like fundamentally sound, and that to me is like Doki. It's like, oh, we're having problems with like the gotcha machines because it's really expensive to use on ETH1. And it's like, yeah, I mean, if you can see as far out as next week, sure. But if, as an investor, but like otherwise, if you have a longer time horizon, like this is, you're picking up this project at basically a really nice discount because other people think that this is the final end state of what they're trying to achieve. And it's not.
Exactly.
Uh, so like once they go on Matic, it's like, well, now you can roll to your heart's content. You can do like 100,000 rolls and you're spending like a dollar, probably less even, for all of that combined. And it's like, that suddenly makes the entire user experience complete.
Yeah.
Like that completes the circle for Doki from start to finish of like, this is like the gameplay loop that we're putting people in. And it's just like, to me, it's like super easy, like to get involved. So obviously heavily invested in Doki itself, the token. And then working directly with the team. Yeah. So, I mean, it'll be nice actually we should probably have maybe a follow-up episode in like a month or two when we come back
Yeah.
after we kind of release this thing.
Yeah.
Because there's the amount of work I think that we have done in the last 3 weeks is probably like the most legendary amount of work that has ever been done like in any crypto project ever. Like
It's like a year's worth of hardcore startup work in a few weeks. You guys have just killed it.
yeah.
It's insane. When he showed me what you guys had already done, I was just like, "Oh my god, man, this is beyond like human." Because and I'm not exaggerating for the podcast. I was completely blown away, just astounded, and that's not even counting the other project that you've been. I don't know how you guys are doing it. I really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I work really hard and I work a lot of hours and I'm up late at night, but I don't know how you guys are actually like.
Yeah.
functioning.
So I mean, this is kind of the one thing that YFL was really good for is it taught me how to do triage. So triage in a medical sense is like, you have 10 people like wounded on the battlefield. Who do you heal first?
Right.
And I think that is an element that I had learned in a project management sense because I had never done PM before, but this YFL had taught me PM. It's like now I know how to properly I know how to map out my resources. I know how to best utilize my pieces correctly to maximum efficacy. And that's what we did for this project, where it's like I'm gonna take all of the skills I learned for triage and apply them to this thing. So that's really how I managed to, because I've basically been managing this particular project, which everyone knows is the name now, Chain Binders. But I've been managing that one basically entirely on my own. Ray has helped a little bit here and there. But yeah, it's just applying triage in the right places can get you insane results. And
but you've also helped redesign the two of you, the entire interface for for the machines and the website at the same time.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah, we did that too.
And it's beautiful. I mean, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I can't wait till the community sees this stuff. And
So we redesigned it 3 or 4 different times, by the way, in like 2 weeks.
it's incredible. Yeah, and I heard you
Yeah.
guys actually had. I heard there was some healthy debate about that actually turned into what ultimately became a really great UI, and I think it's going to be a great UX
Oh yeah, I mean,
experience.
we were throwing our toys at each other, me and Ray, because we both really care about this project so much, and we obviously like we want it to succeed in every sense of the word, and it's like Ray is very much like me, where if it's not perfect, it might as well like just be trash.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we it's 100% or zero.
But what's incredible is usually people that want that don't produce it and end up stalling, right? Because the whole saying is perfection is the enemy of done, but that's not happening here. What's happening here is perfection is happening, and you guys are doing it at an incredible pace. I mean, I'm just amazed.
Yeah.
Amazed.
So
And you're an amazing writer too, by the way. I mean,
yeah.
What's up
I did a bunch of writing too recently.
I'm reading the stuff you're writing for Chainbinders, and one piece of it, and I was just like, this is going to blow people away. So anyway, I don't want to talk about it too much, but really, Roy, I couldn't be more excited that you're doing so much for the project. I think you're going to make a fundamental, huge difference to how well Doki does, and it's really exciting.
For sure. Excited you guys took me on.
Wow, I came on barely a week or so before you, so I don't think I had anything to do with it. I think Ray knows talented, driven people when he sees them. So, and that's another great sign of leadership, right? Because a lot of people would have said, I don't want this guy on because he might outshine me, right? Mm-hmm. And Ray's not afraid to just bring you on because he knows your talent, your skills, and your vision were strong. So
yeah, that was my thing. That was one of the things that I was like very aware of too. Like when I was initially talking to Ray, like I knew that part of project management is also ego management, and I knew the type of personality that Ray has is very similar to mine. And Ray kind of led on in a few of our like conversations that he was very protective of his developer team and very protective of his vision. And I knew that I was like stepping on like eggshells in a sense where I'm very careful about the message and the way that I communicated, and I could not overstep. And I had to prove myself to Ray in many ways before Ray actually decided like, okay, this guy's like super legit.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, that's definitely something like you have to do that. If you have like two, let's say like type A personalities or whatever, like, you have to, it's a give and take, and you don't always get it your way, and you have to accept that.
Well, it's funny because after the first conversation I had with you on a call with him, I said, Ray, you just need to know that this is what I liked about you on that call was that you weren't afraid to tell your opinion to somebody you didn't even know. And I told him, I said, this is a strong personality. So you just need to make sure you guys establish a working relationship that's going to function, because otherwise you could end up clashing. And obviously both of you handled it beautifully. So that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. So, obviously we all think Doki's going to soar, not just in price, but in what it can do. And the thing that has me most excited about the NFT space is I've known so many artists in my life who spend their entire lives struggling and working at Burger King and doing their art when they can in their spare time, or just giving up on it and just being a bar. Nothing wrong with being a bartender. I don't want to insult bartenders, but give up on their art to do something else, just to make a living. And to me, the most exciting thing, that's the most exciting thing about the NFT world. That whole 1,000 true fans and building a group of people who love what you create and actually being able to make a living from it is the most exciting thing to me about the NFT space. And I think that Doki actually makes it so that these artists can make even more money and reach even more people and have even more fans. And I'm just kind of wondering if you had a perspective on that as well, and if that's something you've thought, because you're a writer who's written a book, and I'm sure that it's not an easy thing to do. I'm not an artist, but I've always felt an empathy there, and I'm just kind of wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, so I talk to artists. Artists are my favorite people to talk to because
Yeah.
we all think this. We're all just like the same person basically. It's hard to put food on the table for sure. If you're in an artistic endeavor, like it's very different. Like I'm talking to this individual who has done like literal like music scores for like famous movies that you've seen. I don't want to name drop him, but like, and I'm talking to him about he's working on chain binders, by the way, and I'm talking to him about like what the challenges are of like being an artist, and he has the same problems where he's like, yeah, for a long time, like you know I didn't necessarily have like the most stable income. It was hard to get money, and like so this is like a music guy, and then I'm talking to like artists. These are artists with like a quarter of a million like Instagram followers, who are just like and a Patreon, and like they are still like when I talk to them about like, hey, I want to do this like project thing, they're like giving me like really low rates. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like, do you guys know the value of your worth? And it's like it's strange to me that there's so much talent that is completely like criminally underpaid in not in crypto, in like in the world like as a whole.
Yeah,
And
everywhere.
like yeah, everywhere. It's awful. And it's like creativity and creatives, these are the people that bring a certain vibe and energy to life. Like not everyone can be just like some office worker guy or whatever. Like we need these creatives, and there a lot of them end up like suffering for their art in many ways. And so like something like Doki, like a platform that's like, hey, you can now create this thing and you can probably monetize the hell out of it and make like tons and tons of money. How does that change your incentive scheme? Like, yeah, if you are now suddenly free artistically to create whatever you want, what are you going to create?
Yeah, when you actually can live and eat and not spend your every day stressed about how the next bill gets paid, and you can take the time to actually really work on your art. I mean, I'm sure there are some artists that would rather struggle, so that because that's where their art comes from. But that's going to make, I think that's going to make a huge difference. And I think what NFTs will do will be an explosion of creativity, of different types of NFTs, of different types of art. I'm so fired up. I really think this can be dramatic, and I'm really excited about it. So I've got a buddy that's working in doing a lot with NFTs on the Wax platform, and we all feel this. We all feel like there's a mission here besides the mission of making our own money or investing or being a startup or a tech or anything else. That there's like a mission to make sure art gets what it should get, and that every artist has an opportunity to succeed. So I think that to me is the most impactful part of the whole project.
Yep. I think back in the day too, like historically, like if you think about the Renaissance and so on, like you used to have the Medicis or these other rich families that like, I mean, all they would do is they would just like find artists that they really liked, and they would just give them money. It's like, here,
Yeah.
Do whatever you want, just make cool stuff. And this was like the original Patreon in a sense, right?
Yeah.
And like it was a system that existed for a reason, because there was a certain reverence and respect given to art. Like it was almost like a godly, divine kind of thing. And for whatever reason, culturally, we lost that. Like for a big, most of the art these days is like heavily commoditized. Like
Yeah.
people think that,
Formulaic.
yeah, like people think that art is like you just create it. And it's like, no, you don't. Like it's so much more than that. I always overpay my artists, by the way. If you're an artist and you're listening to this, hit me up. You gotta be good though. I only pay for talent.
No, but that's
I
awesome.
do always.
No, your DMs are gonna be packed right now.
Yeah.
No, that's true, man. And look, I think all of society and all of culture thrives when art thrives, and it makes a big difference. And it's funny. I mean, there's hardcore data that tells you that if you want to build a growing economy in a town, and you want to build up a town that's struggling, the best way to do it is to build an artist colony or an artist community and invite in startups in the tech industry. And you will have this booming, thriving thing happen that feeds off of each other. It makes a huge difference to everyone when they're surrounded by art. So, I like I said, I think with Doki we have an opportunity to do a lot, and that's great. So, all right, one more question: Who is the most brilliant or person you respect the most in the crypto, blockchain, NFT space?
Ooh, that is a difficult one. NFTs in particular, maybe coin artist.
All right.
Coin underscore artist, Marguerite, she is insane. So she basically, so she's been doing like puzzles and NFTs since before they were even like a thing. Like years and years and years ago, she would be doing like Bitcoin puzzles, and she's actually quite well known for them. She would do like riddles and ciphers and all of these like very like not cyberpunk. What's the other one? Cypherpunk. Very cypherpunky kind of things.
Right.
Crypto, and yeah, so she's been doing this for a long time. And then the recent thing that she started doing was working on I think it's called Blockade Games. I am an investor in that, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Disclaimer. But she did Blockade Games, and they're working on this like RPG called Neon District, which they've been working on for like years and years and years. And like, I don't want to say like too much about it, but like Marguerite as a person has like put up with a lot of shit like in her journey, not like at the company, but like in general as a macro thing. And like she has like a certain like strength to just persevere that I have not really seen anywhere else. So like I have like a lot of respect for her. She's very creative. She's very intelligent. You know, she knows what she is kind of doing in the NFT space. So yeah, she's definitely like the person I have a lot of respect for in NFTs. And like, if you are in NFTs or if you're like interested, like keep her on follow on Twitter, because she's always cooking something up.
Nice. And you definitely are a fundamentals investor in a lot of ways in terms of the people and the value that it brings, and why, you know, that's kind of drives you as well. She sounds awesome. I'm going to check her out. I don't think I follow her yet. So appreciate that. All right. Yep. How do people contact you, Roy?
Twitter.com/PhilBeforeShill.
Okay.
I do talk primarily about crypto. Sometimes I post some anime weeaboo stuff. Sometimes I post whatever the hell I want, because it's Twitter, as long as I don't get canceled. Yeah, so you can find me there. That's usually where I interface like publicly. And yeah, send me a message, I guess, if you want to ask me a question or something, and we can talk.
And you're on Clubhouse that's quite a bit still, are you?
Yeah, so I'm in Clubhouse as part of LinkPad. So I guess I should shill LinkPad a little bit.
Oh yeah, let's hear about LinkPad.
I am part of LinkPad. I do so many things. I'm part of LinkPad, LinkPad VC on Twitter. We are like a group of 7 of us now. We just added someone new who I can't reveal yet, but awesome. They're like absolutely like. You've heard of them. But yeah, so it's 7 of us, and we are doing VC, active VC. So we're doing VC in a different way, in the sense that we actually like actively engage in projects and do things like provide liquidity, all these different things that like traditional VCs are just like, here's $1 million and you'll never hear from us ever again. Yeah, so we're trying to do things in a different way, and we hold clubhouses 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 p.m. California time. So I don't know what time that might be for anyone else listening. It's 4 a.m. for me. So
that's handy.
If I can get up, you can get up.
Right. So how are you doing VC different though? I mean, you guys are investing in terms of buying tokens, I'm assuming, but you're also investing talent and energy in projects, kind of like what you're doing with Doki, I guess, but by yourself on that one.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like, Doki, I think, really is like the pilot idea for what we want to do with LinkPad. We want to see, you know, can we send one of our own in to do this thing on a short midterm basis, and can we level up their project in a way that was not possible without LinkPad. Like that's kind of what we want to do.
Got it.
It's very different because of the unique skill set that we 7 possess, and then apply that to the projects that we want to apply that to, and then we'll see the results.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Awesome.
Oh yeah.
So we went an hour.
Cool.
That was great, man. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to have you on the project and get to know you better. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you sharing everything.
Yeah, it was quite nice actually.
That's a wrap. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed and learned as much as I did listening to Roy Blackstone. Thank you, Roy, for showing up, and thanks for sharing so much with all of us. Hey, if you want to check out Doki, go to dokidoki.finance. Learn more about our amazing, earth-shattering, world-changing product and project. We're going to make a huge difference in the lives of artists and brands and consumers of collectibles and art. And we hope you'll check us out, dokidoki.finance. If you have a great idea for a guest, you can DM me on Twitter, Nagi Nakamoto. I look forward to hearing from all of you. Thanks.